And welcome to Hero Power. I'm your host, Avantis, and as always, I'm joined by my co-hosts, Zeroshio.
Who was just told for the first time ever that his jokes are not funny.
Yeah, okay. We'll see about first time ever. And Matt at Arms.
Despite Pikachu's best efforts, I am here.
Damn Pikachu. Tell you what, always trying to ruin it for everybody else. Always trying to hog the spotlight. You don't ever hear about, movies about other Pokemon. No, it's Detective Pikachu. Mm-hmm. Just saying. All right, guys. Welcome to the show. We've got, don't have a whole lot of news to talk about, so we are going to spend the majority of this episode talking about the new cards that have released this week, giving you our thoughts and reviews on those cards. But first up, let's talk about the set Rise of Shadows. We are now roughly 24 hours into that set. This was the first time Blizzard has ever done a simultaneous worldwide release. In the past, they've always kind of staggered them across regions. But this time, they just laid all their, pardon the pun, cards out on the table and said, here it is. So what do you guys think? Did either of you have any issues? Personally, I didn't even touch Hearthstone until about 7 hours after the release yesterday. I logged in about 8 o'clock Eastern last night. But did either of you have any issues getting logged in yesterday?
I was on about 5 minutes before the set dropped yesterday. Just messing around, trying to go back and forth through the shop. It made me restart my phone, restart the app on my phone right at the time, and I was afraid. But you know what? It came right back in.
Yeah.
Everything loaded properly. Buying packs was a breeze, except for the fact that I had to buy them one at a time on my phone. And opening packs was just as much a breeze. It was absolutely very well done by the team. It was clean. It was easy. Saw no issues. Experienced zero lag. It was outstanding.
Yeah, I got in just about an hour after launch. It launched here about 1 p.m. Eastern, and I was in right around 2 o'clock. And I was expecting to kind of have a little bit of a tough time, but no, got right in. I started streaming. It was real easy. Shout out to my friends over on the other side of the world in the future, Goldie and Beanie of the Aussie Geek Show Network, who does Goldie and Beanie Plays and Goldie and Beanie Podcast. They were really excited about the simultaneous launch, even though it was I think 3 in the morning to them over there, 3 a.m. They happen to be night shift workers, and it was their day off, so they were awake and they enjoyed it a lot. And they liked the fact that they didn't have to wait and get delayed for a launch, being over in Australia. So it was really neat to see that everybody just got to hop on and play. And kudos to Team 5 and Blizzard for making this a very seamless launch.
Yeah, so we also yesterday got some legendary launch quests, some new daily quests that are rewarding Year of the Dragon packs. So there's, I believe, 5 quests over 5 days that each quest rewards 2 packs. 1 pack from last year's sets plus 1 pack of Rise of Shadows. Is that correct?
I think the last one, the fifth day one, actually gives you 1 of each, which gives you, so there'll be 4 packs in that last one.
Okay.
Yeah, because the first one was a Rise of Shadows and then a Witchwood. And then today was the Boomsday, which would have been next in the cycle for Year of the Dragon. So the one tomorrow is going to be, a Rise of Shadows and a Rosticon. Day 4 is Rise of Shadow and another Witchwood pack. And then on day 5, you will get a Rise of Shadow, Boomsday, Witchwood, and Rastakhan. So you get all 4 on day 5. So when all said and done, you will get
12
five Rise of Shadows, 3 Witchwood, 2 Boomsday, and 2 Rastakhans.
So yeah, a dozen packs absolutely free just for logging in and doing your quests. So make sure you guys grab those while you can. They also announced the Rise of Shadows launch bundle. I believe they're just calling it the Shadow Bundle. It is currently available in the shop for $9.99, and that includes 9 packs of Rise of Shadows and an arena ticket. So this is actually a pretty good buy because, the arena tickets by themselves are what, $1.99?
Yeah. Plus, you're guaranteed a pack. So in a sense, this is $9.99 for 10 packs, and then you get to get any extra rewards from running the arena, and you get to play in the arena. The arena has been revamped, and I did an arena run. I didn't do very well. I also didn't do it in an optimal environment. I was just laying in bed. But I got 2 wins and got me 30 gold on top of the pack. So basically I got 10 packs and 30 gold and some dust.
Yeah, I took advantage of this as well. Got my 9 packs, and I did my arena run, and I ended up getting a 9-win run with a Shaman.
Nice.
So I got the Rise of Shadows pack plus about 170 gold, 180 gold on top of it too. So it was well worthwhile, and this arena format is great. I love it. I think I'll be playing this a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to checking it out. I haven't done an arena in months. I am going to pick up this Shadow Bundle probably tomorrow, since tomorrow is my payday, and I'm gonna open the packs and play an arena for the first time in this new revamped arena. I'm looking forward to checking it out. So, all right, so let's talk about our first impressions of Rise of Shadows and the meta now that we are 24 hours in to the new set. Matt at Arms, we'll start this discussion with you.
Sure. So, first of all, there's not a meta yet. Well, there kind of is. Rogue's really good. Warriors, they're a lot. But the fact that everything is different, everything feels completely different. This doesn't feel like Witchwood did, where it's like Cobalt and Catacombs 2 with Baku and Gen. This feels like a completely different game. Things matter. There isn't like crazy infinite value. And just the fact that I can play Jiraxis again makes me the happiest man on the planet. So that's where I'm at. It's a lot of fun, and just get in there. Don't care about your rank. Just put stupid stuff together and see what you do.
All right. Zeroshio, what are your thoughts of Rise of Shadows 24 hours after release?
I got to parrot what Matt at Arms said. It just feels fresh. It feels different. I mean, obviously, you're going to have your Reddit trolls saying that the meta is already figured out. The top 3 decks are going to be the same 3 decks that we're going to be playing all the way next year this time. And that can't be further from the truth. Obviously, we're only 24 hours in. Bomb Warrior became a first hot sensation. It's easily countered, but it's the decks that counter it have weak points and can then be beaten by other decks. I've seen a lot of variety of decks. There's not many classes I haven't seen. I haven't seen a lot of Warlock, but I've seen lots of Shaman. I've seen some Priest. I personally started out by playing Whizbang decks. First off, the Whizbang decks are fun. They're great. Streamed them yesterday. I love the new Whizbang decks. Then I decided to kind of toy with some Dragon Paladin. I kind of made my own home brew, and it's almost there. It's real close. We'll talk about more about that when we're doing the review over the Paladin cards. But the Dragon Paladin's almost there. Then I settled into Bomb Warrior, and I am currently ranked 2 using Bomb Warrior. Kind of shot up the ranks. It's doing well for me. Rogue is coming out of the woodworks to counter it, and Rogue's good against Bomb Warrior. So we're seeing a lot of that value game that I said that we probably see with this set. A lot of value cards. And I'm happy. I'm really excited to get more into the arena. But I'm going to do a Masters qualifier this weekend, and hopefully I'll do well and see more of the competitive meta.
So, you were talking about having seen a lot of the decks. I was thinking the exact same thing. That I was thinking, I've not seen a whole lot of Druid played yet. And then it hit me. I did see one Druid. And the guy was playing Heal Druid with Lucent Bark. And he got him out on the board, and it was immediately killed. Then the next turn, he paid 1 mana for that crystal power to heal for 5 to make him come back, because he just goes dormant. He doesn't die. He just goes dormant. So he paid 1 mana for 5 to heal 5 and make him come back. And then he faceless manipulated him. And the next turn, he facelessed him again.
Oh, no.
And he had 3 Lucent Barks that you couldn't get rid of because he could just heal and bring them back. It was pretty annoying.
Yeah, I actually did see quite a bit of Druid. And what I do like about it is I saw some token Druid. I saw some heal Druid. I saw this weird, almost a taunt style Druid that I never got to see what happened, other than I did see Rosticon come out. It was almost as if they were trying to keep that a possible style deck. Not Rosticon, the Undertaker. That's who it was. The Undertaker came out. He kind of played him and then he conceded at that point. I think it might have been a deck that failed. But I like seeing that people are being ingenuitive and they're trying things out. Now, obviously, you can go to hsreplay.net and pull up the top deck, but everybody I'm seeing on the ladder right now, and I'm up in the ranks 5 through 2 right now, they seem to be just doing their own thing. I'm seeing Bomb Warrior, but I'm seeing different variations that I'm not seeing net decked out on Hearthstone or HS Replay. So I'm glad people are taking this time to kind of deck doctor themselves and try out their own thing, and that's fun. I mean, obviously HS Replay has its place, but it's nice to see people get excited about trying new things.
Yeah, this deck, this meta has brought back things like old decks that I absolutely loved, like Silence Priest. Silence Priest was a deck back in like Ungoro, the beginning of Ungoro, and it's back, and it's a lot of fun. It's like probably my second favorite Priest deck of all time. In fact, I could play that again.
One of the most popular decks ever after the very first expansion of Hearthstone was Secret Paladin, and now Secret Paladin is back with a vengeance.
Yeah, Secret Paladin's out kind of in that form. Not the Mysterious Challenger style Secret Paladin, but more
this is a Immortal Prelate Paladin, and it's brutal.
Yeah. It's pretty neat. It's kind of got that mid-range, almost to a control-y style feel to it. It just grinds you out. It's all about value. And again, this set, all these cards, we said it when we first started seeing the cards, this seems like a value-based set, and it is not disappointing. There are some combo elements. There's some Malagos decks out there. There's some kind of weird combo-y Hunter with Malagos and what's his name? Geppetto Joy Buzzkill. He, that deck is out there, but that's healthy. It's good to have a couple combo decks that can kind of sneak wins here and there against your slower decks. But the value game is where Hearthstone has thrived and had its best metas, in my opinion. And I think we have the perfect set for that.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, all right. Let's talk about this week's Tavern Brawl and then get to the card reviews. This week's Tavern Brawl is Standard Brawliseum. So, welcome back, Gladiator. Build a deck for Standard format and compete for glorious prizes. So, this is not the first time we've seen this. So go build you a good, fun deck that you enjoy playing, and go try to win it all in an arena format. So go.
Yeah, and this is where getting on HS Replay and finding a good deck can be helpful, because this is going for some in-game prize and reward. I haven't done this yet, but I plan to probably start a run tonight. I love these. You can get some good feel for what the competitive scene has, because that's the type of decks people bring. It's the more competitive decks, and it's fun.
Yeah, I'm planning on bringing a handlock with Plot Twist and what's the Broodmother and a few others.
Oh, nice.
I'm looking forward to getting some time and getting into this and having a lot of fun with it.
I want to see that deck list. That sounds like fun. I am a huge fan of old-fashioned handlock. So, all right.
All right.
Let's go ahead and jump right on into our card review this week. We are starting where we left off last week, which puts us at the beginning of the Paladin class and Commander Risa. So, Zeroshio, I'm going to let you kind of lead through the Paladin class here. Go ahead.
So Paladin as a whole, and we'll talk more when we're done with the Paladin review, but Paladin as a whole kind of had their attention split between dragons and secrets when they started trickling out these reveals. And I was really worried which direction they were going to go. I thought they were going to go towards the direction of dragons, but it seems as if they're going towards the direction of secrets. And because of that, I decided to give Commander Risa a 4. I think she's very strong. I've actually played with her. I've put her in a secret Paladin. The value you get from her, now right now it's more of a minion base, so she's not getting a great amount of value from some of the secrets. But truthfully, she's one of the best legendaries, a class legendary specifically in this set. And I think she's a must craft for me. I end up having to craft her, and I'm really, really glad I did, and I don't think I'm going to regret it at all. She does work. She does an amazing amount of work.
Yeah, I gave her a 3. I think she's solid. I think she's very good. She makes the deck even better. I don't think she's absolutely necessary for the deck, but I think she makes the deck that much more powerful. And just getting a couple of the secrets that are available off triggering twice is kind of backbreaking. I think she's a really solid card and worth considering.
Yeah, I actually gave her a 2. I'm going to preface this with, I just didn't feel like Paladin was overly as powerful as it has been in the past this set. I like this card, but like Matt said, there are some secrets that when they trigger twice are just awesome, and then some secrets when they trigger twice just don't really, they just kind of fizzle out for you. So I felt like this card was just okay. I didn't think it was great, so yeah, I gave it a 2.
All right, so the next card we have is Dazari. It is a 10 mana 4/12 dragon, a legendary, of course. Battle Cry, restore both heroes to full health. I really like this card. I actually got a chance to play with it. I made myself a Dragon Paladin. The deck itself isn't that great because it just doesn't have a lot of those control tools to also have your dragons in there. I gave it a 2, not because of the value of the card itself. It's the value of the deck. Now, where this card shines, believe it or not, is in Dragon Warrior, because you can get this from Dragon Roar, and where you can reasonably gain lots of armor, especially with Ember Scale Drake. You could heal to full and still have like 22 armor, and that is ridiculous when it's in Warrior. It does couple well with the call, being able to use the call early and then gain all that armor, and then you heal as well as your opponent, and now they're at 30 health and you're at like 30 health and maybe 16, 18 armor. But other than that one fringe case, it's just mainly a tempo body. It does get buffed with the other cards we're going to talk about later, but so do the other dragons. So it's not really much better than those.
Yeah, I gave this a 1. I didn't think this was very good. I think the effect is strong, but it's symmetrical, and if you are ahead, you'd never want to play it. If you're behind, you need to play it, and you need to find it. And if you're playing a Dragon Paladin that plays a 10-mana dragon, you're most likely behind. So you will need to hold on to this card. So for that case, I'm just not a fan of this card, and because of that, I got it as my freebie from my pre-order.
Yeah, I did too. I have a golden Nazari. I'm kind of excited because I love the art, but yeah, I want Dragon Paladin to be good.
Yeah, I want Dragon Paladin to be good too. I just don't think it is right now. And I kind of agree with you, Zeroshio. I gave this card a 2 just because, I don't like full heal effects. Like, I didn't like Tree of Life. I don't like this card. I don't, like Matt said, if you're behind and need it, it's probably too late. If you're ahead, you don't need it. You don't want to give your opponent a chance to get back into the game. I'm just not a fan, so I gave it a 2.
The next card we're getting into epics is Dragon Speaker. It is a 5-mana 3/5 minion. Battle Cry, give all dragons in your hand +3/+3. I think it's a solid card. I gave it a 3, and I used it quite a bit in my Dragon Paladin, and when Dragon Paladin is almost there. It's missing just a couple tools to make it a viable deck. I think right now it may be top of tier 3, and not quite there for tier 2. And tier 2 is what I would consider a regularly playable deck. You don't have to be tier 1 to be playable. Tier 3 is like on that fringe, or it's like a specific deck that's good in a certain meta. Once that deck is good, I think this is easily a 4. I got so much value. I had 7/7 and 10/10 dragons that cost 4 mana in my hand, and it was ridiculous when I was able to get it off.
Yeah, I rated this a 2, mainly because I don't think the dragon deck is there yet. I think this guy is a good, solid inclusion in that, but I don't think he's really kind of slow, and you kind of want to hold on to your dragons to get your value off of this, and sometimes just pure stats isn't enough. I think this guy will eventually be playable, but we've been waiting for hand buff since Gadget's end to work, and it hasn't. So that's why I kind of gave this guy a 2.
I gave this guy a 3 as well, because I do want Dragon Paladin to be a thing, and I think once that deck finds itself, this will be a key piece to it, and I'm really looking forward to what this card can do in the future, so I gave it a 3.
Okay, next card is Epic Spell, 5 mana, Duel. Summon a minion from each player's deck they fight. I gave this a 3. At the time, I thought it might be a really good tool in depending where the meta's at. After seeing the first 24 hours, I'm not sure if it's that good even. Really, you want to take a key minion out of their deck, and right now everybody's playing the value game, so all of their value is kind of spread across their entire deck. So getting one specific minion out isn't that great. Now, if a Malagos deck becomes more predominant, this might end up being a really good tool and good for removing those threats, but right now, I think it's a solid inclusion in a control-based Paladin deck.
Yeah, I gave this a 2. There's a certain kind of Paladin build that really wants to play this is when you're not playing for combo disruption, which I don't think you want to be playing in for combo disruption yet. It's kind of a big Paladin, and a big Paladin doesn't really happen unless it's kind of a Dragon Paladin with big Paladins. So, like I said, there's a possibility, but I don't think this card will be good in the future. I don't think it's there yet.
So I actually rated this card a 4 because when I first saw it, it immediately made me think back to Enter the Colosseum, which was a grand tournament card that was 6 mana, and it said destroy all minions except each player's highest attack minion. So, this kind of gives you that feel of there's only 2 minions and they're fighting, and except it's summoning a random minion. I like that. It's 1 mana less than what Enter the Colosseum was. Yes, it doesn't have the destroy effect, but if you build your deck right, I think this card could be good.
Okay, going into our rares, we have 1 mana spell, Desperate Measures, Twin Spell, cast a random Paladin secret. I think in your secret decks, this is just you just put it in there to get another quick secret. Basically, it's 1 mana. Get you a secret, and it might even if you already have secrets in play, it's going to get you one you don't have. So you're going to get value out of it. I gave it a 3. I think it's just a solid inclusion.
Yeah, I give this a 3 as well. I think it's solid in that Paladin deck. It's also got some edge case with like Wild Pyromancer and like a more control-y deck, where you're kind of you're putting up secrets and you're also triggering your Wild Pyromancer to clear a small board, which is possible. But I think with Commander Rissa and some of the other Paladin synergy cards, I think it's a good inclusion in that deck.
So I gave this a 2 because to me it reads Twin Spell, Avantes gets an eye for an eye. That's the way it probably play for me. That's my luck, and I don't like the unknown bit about it. I feel like there's better options, especially since all the Paladin secrets are 1 mana. I feel like I can build it better than having to rely on something random like this. So I gave this a 2.
Yeah, but what if you get the eye for an eye, then you pass a turn, and then your opponent plays a bunch of stuff, hits your Hidden Wisdom, you draw cards, you draw a bomb, hits you for 5 damage, and you win the game.
No, that's what happens is the first bomb goes off and hits me for 1, eye for an eye triggers. The second bomb goes off and hits me for 4, and I lose.
Bombs don't hit you for 1. Oh, you're talking about the not the bombs. Okay, gotcha. Fair. That's fair. Okay, so next card is a rare spell, Call to Adventure. It's 3 mana. Draw the lowest cost minion from your deck. Give it +2/+2. So I gave this a 3. I think it's a solid inclusion in most decks. I actually play it in my Dragon Paladin deck, and it actually does really good work. And I thought about including it in my Secret Paladin deck. If you can hit an Immortal Prelate with this, that gives the Immortal Prelate, which is the 2 mana 1/3 Death Rattle, shuffle this into your deck. It keeps any enchantments. So that's a 2 mana 3/5 that will keep coming back as a 3/5 plus anything else it gets on it. So if the Prelate dies and goes back in your deck and you play another Call to Adventure, you can get him out again. So I like this card. I think it will be kind of take that spot of Call to Arms as a draw mechanic that gets you a cheap minion. I like it.
I gave this card a 1. I'm not a fan of this card. I think it's a little too slow for what you wanted to do. I mean, in the deck that you want to run this in, I think the lowest class minion you'll probably run is a Wild Pyromancer. And you just made your Wild Pyromancer, and you just made your quality cost 7 to draw your Wild Pyromancer. So I don't know. It's a lot of work. I've gotten this while playing Rogue, and it's like every time I've played it, I've been underwhelmed by it. So yeah, that's why I gave it a 1. I gave it a 1 before I started playing with it, but then I played with it. I kind of agree. It's like it's not a great card.
So I gave this a 3, and every single time I have seen this card played, it has summoned Immortal Prelate. nothing else. This card might as well read 3 mana, draw Immortal Prelude from your deck, give it +2/+2, because that is all I have seen in the last 24 hours. I have not seen this card summon any other cards.
Yeah, and I've drawn Wild Pyro with this, and to have a big Wild Pyro that can even do more damage because it has more health, it has 4 health at that point, that's actually pretty useful. The next card, you're not convinced, I know.
I'm not convinced. Maybe I just need to play like a slow Paladin and play with it.
It's good. I like it. The next card is Mysterious Blade. It's a 2 mana Paladin weapon. It's 2 attack, 2 durability. Battle cry. If you control a secret, gain +1 attack. So if you control a secret, it's basically a pre-nerfed Fiery War Axe. I gave this a 4. It's awesome. Enough said.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that sentiment. I mean, even if you don't get that secret on turn 1, a 2 mana 2/2 weapon is perfectly fine. I think this card is awesome.
I actually gave this card a 3. I like it. I think it's a good card. I think I would have rather seen it give +1 durability than +1 attack, but, I think that would have probably made it a 4 or 5 in my book. But, no, this is a good card.
Okay, getting into our commons, we have Never Surrender. It's a 1 mana Paladin secret. When your opponent casts a spell, give your minions +2 health. This is really good, especially with Risa doubling it up. It goes to +4. I gave it a 4. It's a solid card.
Yeah, this card is basically Power Word Shield AoE if possible. Like 1 mana, get 2 health. If we're on 1 minion is super. 1 mana, get 2 health on all your minions that you flood the board with is super duper. This card is really hard to play around too, especially if you're in a controlling class that runs AoE removal. Like if this existed in the Defile meta, I can imagine this card just putting the big speed rakes on Defile and making a Warlock cry. This card's awesome.
This is one of the very few cards in this entire set that I gave a 5 to. And that is just because of, as these guys talked about, the disruption that this card costs. If you have this on the board and your opponent goes, oh, I'm just going to, consecrate all these little minions and they all survive, that is a wasted spell on your opponent's side, or they're having to expend more resources to remove your minions, and that makes this card infinitely more valuable than most anything else out there. By far the best Paladin secret in the game. Hands down, full stop, I'm done.
Nice. So the next common is 2 mana spell, Light Forged Blessing. It has twin spell, give a friendly minion lifesteal. I gave this a 2, and I've played with a little bit. I don't know if you put this, it might be a one of in some control style decks, but it's really good to get off a Fire Tree Witch Doctor. And it works really, really well as a secondary point of healing with Wild Pyromancer. But other than that fringe case, I really don't see this. I haven't tried it with Immortal Prelate, but so that might actually change the grade a little bit. But right now, I have it as a 2.
Yeah, I have it as a 2. I don't think there's a case for this card yet. I mean, it's really great with Wild Pyromancer because that AoE that Wild Pyromancer does will also heal you. Mm-hmm. Where I think this card might see a home, and there's a 7 mana 3/7 taunt that does 3 damage to the entire board when it dies. If you can somehow stick this on that, and if that actually becomes like a card that shows up in the meta, that's like basically a Reno Jackson that you can get to put together. It's a solid card. I think there's a lot of work that can be done with it, but it's okay. It's fringe. It's good.
So I rated this card a 2, and I feel like having seen it played a lot now, I have severely underrated this card. This card has effed me up multiple times in multiple games because they've put it on things that I have had no option but to go through, where I've almost had them dead, and this card has single-handedly brought them back into the game where I should have won the next turn and didn't. So I rated this a 2. I feel like it's probably should be more like a 3, but I like this card.
All right, the last card in Paladin, definitely not the least, is the Bronze Herald. It's a 3-mana dragon minion, 3/2 Death Rattle. Add 2 4/4 dragons to your hand. I really like this card, and I'm doing something. I'm changing my score on the fly to a 4 because I originally rated this a 3, and I had a chance to play with it. Dragon Paladin is just close to being good, in my opinion, but this card is what's keeping it together. The fact that you can not only get 2 4-mana 4/4 dragons in your hand, that you can buff up to 7/7 or maybe 10/10 with the Dragon Speaker, but also it adds more cards to your hand to fuel up something like a Twilight Drake, and it's right on curve. You play this on 3, your opponent kills it, you get 2 more cards in your hand, you draw your card on turn 4, and now you have a very large Twilight Drake, and you've still been investing on the board. So it is the epitome of value. I love this card.
Yeah, this card's super good. And even if you're not like using the 4/4s as your next turn play, if this dies, you know what's really good with cards in your hand? Twilight Drake. So
what did I just say?
Yeah, I know. Sorry, it's been a long
good.
day.
It is that
it's
good.
That good.
It's both have to say it.
Yeah, it's a really solid card. I think like in that Dragon Paladin, even outside of that Dragon Paladin, I think it's super good.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I actually gave this a 3 because I think this is good as well. And you know what this synergizes real well with, guys? Twilight Drake. And if you guys heard that yet?
Gosh.
Oh my gosh. I like this card a lot. I think it's going to see quite a bit of play over the course of the next 2 years. And this is my favorite Paladin common out of the set.
That should be the show title.
All right, so overall grade for Paladin, I'm going to give Paladin overall a 2. I think it has some fringe decks. I think Secret Paladin is good, but it's a solid tier 2 deck. It's not quite tier 1, and the Dragon Paladin is tier 3, and there's not really. I haven't found any kind of combo or a true control Paladin. I am looking though.
Yeah, I give Paladin like a 2.5. I think Secret Paladin, if we still had Divine Favor in the meta, would be the best deck in the format. No problem, no hands down. So, but the fact that like literally there's the only card draw in that Secret Paladin is a bad secret. So. Yeah, that's why I'm like I don't think the deck's going to be that good. It was completely overrated going in, and now seeing it play, it's completely overrated. Dragon Paladin's there, but I think Paladin was really good. Was really good for a good year there, based off the Baku and Gen and Call to Arms. So I think maybe a set off is what it needs.
All right, so that's going to bring us to the Priest. And first up, we have Madame Lazul. She is a 3-mana, 3/2 legendary minion. Battle cry, discover a copy of a card in your opponent's hand. I gave this card a 4 because 3-mana, 3/2, and I get to discover a copy of a card from my opponent's hand. I'm going to get to see 3 cards that are in my opponent's hand, if they have 3 cards. That gives me a lot of information I need to decide how I'm going to play my turn, how I'm going to proceed with my next couple turns, whether if I need to hold removal. That is just, I feel like, really powerful, and I like this card a lot. So,
Yeah, yeah, I gave her a 3. I just think she's solid. I said this with Khadgar. I like that they're having some class legendaries that are low costed and just good value minions. We don't have to jack up the cost, or if they're low cost, to have them just be almost vanilla minions. I'm really glad with the approach they've done with legendaries, and I think she's just a solid inclusion in just about any priest deck.
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, she's a 3/2, is kind of under below, but she reminds me a lot of Curious Glimmerroot a little bit. But the fact that you can choose what's in their hand, I think the information gathering is a bit overrated. But I think that Lazul by herself is just a solid inclusion, and I hope we get a chance to do some fun stuff with her. So I gave her a 2.
all right. Next up, we have Katarina Muerte. She's an 8 mana 6/8. At the end of your turn, summon a friendly minion that died this game. So here we have Kel'Thuzad Light. She's same mana cost, I do believe. But instead of summoning all minions that died this turn, she brings back one minion that died this game. So, I mean, it could be a boat. So I gave her a 3 just for that reason.
I love this card. I gave it a 2 on initial reaction. I think she's probably more like a 3, but I'm going to stick to my 2 right now because I haven't seen any decks that made her perfect. I did play with her using some of the Whizbang decks, and she was really, really, really strong. With a properly built deck and you choosing what minions are in your deck, I think she definitely has a lot of value. Again, I'm putting her at a 2 right now because I haven't seen it quite yet, and I'm going to go off my initial, but I could definitely see the value going up.
I gave her a 4. I think she's actually kind of bonkers, and I think in a future set, she is going to do a lot of work. I think there's the fact that she's a lot like Kel'Thuzad, but Kel'Thuzad you kind of had to wait. You had to wait for the right turn to play him. She is. You could just drop her on turn 8 and get something if you're playing the right kind of deck. Huge. She's very disruptible though, which I like. But she's replacing Ragnaros in Big Priest and Wild, which kind of scares the crap out of me. Ooh. So yeah, this card's insane.
Yeah, that is scary. All right. Next up, we have an epic spell, Lazul's Scheme. It's 0 mana. Reduce the attack of an enemy minion by 1 until your next turn. Upgrades each turn. So, I think I've said that I'm not a big fan of most of the schemes. I feel like there's just a couple of good ones. I rated this one a 2. I don't feel like this is one of the good ones. We'll have to wait and see. I could be proven wrong over time, but this has to sit in your hand for probably 4 or 5 turns before it becomes usable, and then at that point you can play it and trade into something for tempo value. But I feel like there's too many variables there. There's better removal. I gave this a 2.
Yeah, Avanti's pretty much touched on it. I gave it a 2. It's probably more like a 1, but in the right deck, it's a 2. It does have synergy with Cabal Shadowmancer, Cabal Shadow Priest. But other than that, it's a 2. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I gave it a 2. I mean, like everybody said, it's got some synergy. It's just I've been really underwhelmed by all the schemes, so I think this is kind of in the same boat.
All right. Next up, we have an epic minion, Shadowy Figure, 2 mana, 2/2, transform into a 2/2 copy of a friendly Death Rattle minion. I gave this a 3. I like this card. This gives you a lot of flexibility as far as copying good Death Rattle effects. There's the one we're going to talk about here in a little while that kills a random enemy minion when it dies. So, I mean, there's some good options for this card out there, and in Wild, the value of this card just goes off the charts. So, I actually like this card a lot. I gave it a 3.
I value these mainly off standard because that's where I play most. I gave it a 1 because I just don't think there's enough good Death Rattle minions to warrant having this in your deck if you're playing that type of priest deck. So I really don't think it's good. There's better cards to put in that slot that's going to give you better synergy.
Yeah, actually, I didn't even think about the synergy with the 5-mana card, but I think the main place where this goes is kind of in a combo Death Rattle deck. But yeah, it's really kind of a weird, kind of fringy card. That's why I gave it a 2.
All right, next up, we have a rare spell, Forbidden Words. This is a 0 mana. Spend all of your mana, destroy a minion with that much attack or less. I think we're going to see a lot of this card. I gave it a 3. I'm already seeing it used to remove taunts because what is a taunt? Really big defense, usually not so big attack. So it doesn't take much for this to remove some pretty powerful taunts. So I think we're going to see quite a bit of this going forward over the next year and a half, 2 years. I gave this card a 3.
Yeah, I gave it a 2. I think it's very strong, but it's the type of deck it goes in is a tempo-based priest, and to me, there's not enough tools for a tempo-based priest. You're going to go more control, or you're going to go like a combo-style priest. Tempo is not where it's at, so I just don't think it's better than a 2 right now.
This card, I gave a 3. I think it completely replaces Shadow Word Pain. There's no reason to run Shadow Word Pain instead of this card. Basically, you're already going to spend the 2 mana to kill something with two or 3 less. I think the fact that the joke is Shadow Word 4, but honestly, it's really good. You can actually kill those 4 attack minions. And planning out your turns is really important with this because it will be the last card you play. But I think this card is super good.
All right. Next up, we have a rare spell that I am not a fan of. Go ahead and get that out. If you're in our Discord, you will have seen the salt. It is deep. 9 mana, Mass Resurrection. Summon 3 friendly minions that died this game. I don't have the words for the distaste I have for this card. I was streaming last night, playing some matches. Again, I come up against a priest, and I'm looking at no matter what I do, however I remove the minions, I'm still looking at Moshog Enforcers every single turn because they get mass rezzed back to back to back, and it's just a pain in the butt. So it's not saying it's a bad card. I gave it a 3. I'm seeing it used effectively in this meta currently, and that may change over time, but right now it's not a bad card. I hate resurrection effects.
I gave it a 2. I think it has a place in the right deck, but that deck I think can be countered. There's plenty of tech cards to counter this. There's a neutral that gives your opponent a 2/2 Griffin. There's also lots of other things to water down that res pool, a lot more than there was during the heyday of the Spellstone. So I don't think this card is very good on its own. It's good and popular right now because of Fargoth and because of that deck. But once people stop focusing on trying to counter Bomb Warrior and focus on countering other good decks, this one will get countered and then stop being played again.
Yeah, I was OG Salt on this card. As soon as this card was revealed, I wanted people fired. I've calmed down on that a little bit because it's a bad card. I think it's easily disruptible. It's expensive. It's not the Spellstone, thank goodness. Literally, the best card to counter this card, if you're really that worried about it, is Leroy Jenkins, because they can get 2 whelps back with this card.
Yep.
So it's easy. Like I said, it's easily disruptible. It's something that they will always have, though, is Resurrection Effects, and I just have to live with it. And I'm glad this one's a bad one.
Yeah, one thing I want to point out, it says summon 3 friendly minions that died this game. It doesn't say summon 3 different minions. So if you put a minion in the pool, it gets entered once. But if, say, you put 2 whelps in the pool, it's actually in that pool of minions to be resurrected twice. Mm-hmm. So you can actually get 2 whelps with this, which makes the value a lot lower because of that.
Unless you're me, and then they're always getting Moshag Enforcers. All right.
You know what's crazy good against this card? Is that demon that summons imps on both sides.
Yeah.
Fills
the board with imps on both sides.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like if you really hate this card, run that card, because that'll take care of it.
Building Warlock after the show. All right, next up.
It's a neutral.
Oh, okay. Next up, we have a 5-mana rare minion. It's a 2/6 with Taunt. It's called the Convincing Infiltrator. Taunt, Death Rattle, destroy a random enemy minion. I gave this a 4. I think this card is going to be in just about every priest deck you see, because it is a taunt, and when it dies, it takes something with it. So that's really good. As we talked about earlier, we had the shadowy figure that I think it synergizes pretty well with. So I like this card a lot. I gave it a 4.
Yeah, this is like a Obsidian Golem, Obsidian Statue mini. This is a nice fair value for it. I gave it a 4 as well. It's a really good card.
I gave it a 4 as well. This card's super solid, and I already hate playing against it.
All right, next up we have a 2-mana 2/2 common minion called the Evil Conscriptor. Death Rattle, add a lackey to your hand. I gave this a 3. It's a 2-mana 2/2 that replaces itself basically when it dies. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, I gave this a 2 because I like the card. It's very good value. I just don't think the lackeys have as much synergy or place in Priest. And again, that goes back to, I don't think Priest is going to be a tempo variety. Now, if a tempo Priest comes out, then the value of this goes up. But I think right now that deck that this belongs in just isn't really a top-tier deck that you'd want to play on a ladder.
Tempo Priest exists, and a couple downs later is a card that you play in it. This card you don't. I don't think lackeys make that much sense in Priest. I like lackeys a lot, but for a 2-mana play, this isn't bad. It's a solid card. I gave it a 3. I think there's some situations where you may want this, but I don't think the deck for this exists yet.
Okay. Next up, we have a 4-mana 4/7 common minion, Hinch Clan Shade Quill. Death Rattle, restore 5 health to the enemy hero. I gave this a 3. It's a 4-mana 4/7 body, so it's pretty beefy. The only downside is Death Rattle, restore 5 health to the enemy minion. However, as we've been doing with Priest since the beginning of the game, if you can get an Akanata stick, it's an additional 5 points of damage. So there are really good upticks to this card. I like it a lot. I gave it a 3.
Yeah, I gave this a 3. I just think it's a solid card regardless of the heal. This buys time for Priest, and is just a good minion, and has a big butt, and we know what Priests do with big butts.
Mm-hmm. This is remember that card we were talking about earlier, Twilight Drake? This is Twilight Drake that doesn't care about your hand size. This card's good.
Yeah. All right. And the last Priest card is a 4-mana common spell, Unsleeping Soul. Silence a friendly minion, then summon a copy of it. I gave this a 4 because I just feel like this card is really strong. There's a new neutral minion that you can target with this. It's another Watcher, and you have the Ancient Watcher. They're just great, cheap options that you can target with this and summon tempo bodies on the board. I like this card a lot. I gave it a 4.
I gave it a 2. Again, I think the deck, the Silence Priest, is more of a tempo-based priest, and I don't see it being a solid deck right now. There are some tools that would show it that it can be created, but I think it's kind of like Dragon Paladin, where it's almost there, not quite there. So while I like the card and it will go great with like a Silence Priest, maybe it's good for next set because I just don't see the tools to make that a good deck now.
I love this card. This card's bonkers. A couple games I've played of Silence Priest already. This card has done a ton of work, especially with cards with like 5 attack and 6 health that are way undercosted. Basically, yeah, this card makes Silence Priest go, and I love it.
All right, so overall, as a class, I'm giving Priest a 3.5. I feel like it's just on the cusp of being a 4 overall. It's got some really good, versatile minions. It's got some pretty decent spells. I feel like they did Priest really good in this expansion. So,
yeah, I'm gonna say it's a 2. It's right where Paladin is for me. It's right there. It's almost got the tools, but there's just 3 or 4 more classes that you'd rather play besides Priest right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I gave kind of Priest a kind of a overall 3. I think the cards they got were super good, which they needed to because Priest basic sets are really bad. But that's kind of the story with Priest anyway. So yeah, I think the cards they got were pretty solid. There's some also tools to build towards in the future. So I think it's a solid class overall.
all right. That brings us to our next class. Matt, why don't you take the lead on this one?
All right, first up, High Sparing Togwaggle. This card is one of the first cards I opened up. I think it's a super solid card, and the treasures you get are the Mare and the Fox treasures. I gave this card a 3. I think it's super solid. I think it's starting to fall out of some of the road decks now, but I think it might come in and out depending on specialist lineups as well. So.
Yeah, I give this a 4. I think it's just a really, really good card, especially in a specialist lineup where you can. It'll be a swing card, but in the times you choose to play it, it's going to be very impactful.
I also gave this card a 4. I feel like what this card does. It's super, super good. The treasures, the fantastic treasures that you get can be game swinging, so it's not difficult to get a lackey in Rogue. I like this card a lot. I gave it a 4.
All right, next up, Taz Noswhisker. It's the other legendary. I don't think there's an application for this card. There's the memes with the Burgle effects, where you can do an academic espionage and get all those cards in your hand at the same time. Outside of that, I don't see it other than the Pogo Rogue, and I don't think Pogo Rogue is that good right now. So, yeah, I give it a 2.
I give it a 4 because I think Pogo Rogue can be a thing. It's not been fleshed out yet, but there's a lot of other decks people are messing with. Like, once people look at Pogo Rogue, they'll use this, and I think it's going to be a good card.
In the immortal words of Coach Lee Corso, not so fast. I gave this card a 4 because I don't feel like Burgle Rogue is a meme deck. I feel like it's really strong right now. You're playing your deck and your opponent's class, and it gives you so much versatility that I have been stopped cold multiple times. No matter what I do, there's always an answer either in my class or their rogue that I can't get through. I like this card a lot.
All right, on to the epic 6-mana unidentified contract. And it basically said like the same as the K and C effect, where it's 1 of 4 cards. I'm not going to go into all the cards because I'd take all the show. Basically, I'm not sure why I would pay 2 mana for the same effect in a possible high roll, rather than walk the plank or playing 1 more mana for an assassinate. I think it's a solid card, but I don't think it will see that much play.
Yeah, I gave it a 3. It's a solid card. I think if you'll put it in a 1 of, and it definitely will be useful in Specialist.
I gave this a 4 because of the bonus effects that are available. They are all pretty darn good as far as tempo goes. So I like this card. I gave it a 4 for this, even though it's a 6-mana spell.
All right, next one up, Waggle Pick, 4-mana 4/2 weapon, Death Rattle, Shadow Step. I was completely wrong about this card. I gave it a 2. I think now that I've played with it for a good 2 days, I'd probably give it a 4. This card is bonkers. Being able to like swing face with it, throw out a Leroy, swing face for 4, hit face for 6, and then basically, that weapon breaks, you Shadow Step your Leroy for 3, and then you continue to do that for the next next turn and most likely win. This card's super good.
Yeah, I gave it a 2, and I stick by that because while it's seeing a lot of play right now, and some players are having success with it, players playing against me aren't having much success with it because I try to manage the board management. Make sure they have other minions on their side that could possibly be hit other than something like a Leroy. I think once people start learning how to play around this card, the value is going to go down. And I think it's a good card right now, but it's not going to stay that good because people are going to figure out how to play around it by watching some of the pro players. It's a solid 2.
I gave it a 2, but I agree with Matt. I think this is more of a 3. I don't have the same feelings that Zeroshio has. I think your pros are going to be the ones that adopt it and are going to figure out the best ways to use it. And, I mean, you can play this and then hero power to immediately bounce something. I mean, there are so many good applications for this card that I think it's going to. This is a rogue weapon you're going to see stick around, almost like that damn Kingsbane.
I will say I have seen this card misplayed a lot. I had a guy well played me because he had lethal, and he had lethal on board, and he had Hench Clan Thug and this, and so he attacks my face because you always attack before you attack with your Hench Clan Thug for the buff, even though he didn't need to kill me, and the Hench Clan went back to his hand. And then he conceded.
Yeah, there's actually been consideration like, do you play this or Hench Clan? And actually right now you play this because it's immediate 4 attack. I think, this card's super good. All right, next one up, Togwaggle Scheme. 1 mana, shuffle 1 thing into your deck, upgrades each turn. I really don't think... I think I said, I'm not a big fan of all the schemes. They're, really dependent on when you draw them and how powerful they can be. I give this card a 2.
I think this is the best scheme out of all of them. It's really close with Hagatha's scheme because Hagatha's scheme's removal, but this is also a value card as well. I think when it comes down to it, you get more out of this one than you do Hagatha's, and I gave it a 3. It's a solid 3.
I also gave this a 3, but I agree with Zeroshio. I think this is absolutely the best scheme. I have actually used this to get some pretty powerful minions, 4 or 5 copies of a pretty powerful minion added to my deck and then drawn into them, and it's completely turned the game in my favor. If you have to play a scheme, I feel like this is the best of the options available. I like it a lot.
All right, next one up, Vendetta, 4 mana. Can be free, do 4 damage to a minion. This one is good now. I gave it a 3. I think with future sets, with the new style of Burgle effect they're doing, where it goes from another class rather than your opponent's class, this can only get better. I think it's a 3 that could possibly go up to a 4, maybe a 5 at some point. This card is bonkers.
Yeah, I think that this is a 4 for me, because while I agree it is going to only get better, what makes this better is not just the Burgle cards they printed, but specifically the lackeys. One of the lackeys discovers a spell, and sometimes you can get some other spells from Rogue that will get you other spells. So I mean, it's a chain reaction, but it's not just what they printed for the Burgle effect in this set. It's a combination of the lackeys with this that I think is just. I have found lots of use with this card. I did not think I would. I'm not a big Rogue fan, but I played Rogue today, and I like this card. This is probably one of the best Rogue cards in the set.
Absolutely. I gave it a 4 as well. As Matt said, I just feel like this card is absolutely bonkers. It doesn't take, I said I don't feel like Burgle Rogue is a meme, and Burgle Rogue makes this card free. And 4 damage for nothing, I will take it all day long.
All right, next one up, Underbelly Fence, 2 mana 2/3 rushing totem golem. I think I gave this card a 3. I'm actually now in play. I'm actually bringing this down because once again the Burgle effects aren't in there. I think it'll actually come back up to a 3 in the future. But right now, I think this card's a bit of a trap in those decks. But sometimes you just have to play a River Crocodilus and for tempo, and it's solid. So that's where I put it.
I gave it a 4 because even a River Crocodilus, it's solid. But Pilfer, a lot of people are discounting Pilfer, which is the card they added to the basic set to replace cards they've removed in the past. So that Pilfer alone is fueling this. I Pilfer on 1, I Underbelly Fence on 2. I now have a 3/4 with Rush to get rid of anything they played on 2. Such a good card.
I agree. I gave this a 4 as well because I've seen this card played a dozen times since the set released, and I have never seen it played as a 2/3. It has been a 3/4 minion for 2 every single time I've seen it played, and that is just really good.
Yeah, the only time is kind of not great, it's still okay, is in Rogue Mirrors, because there's not as many Burgle effects that aren't from your opponent's class. That's why I think if you're not playing Rogue, you're seeing this activated more often, and I think that's why but that's kind of a very observation bias situation. All right, next up, Evil Miscreant, 3 mana, 1/5 combo, gain 2 lackeys. I think this card's really strong, and in play and practice, this card has been really good. I gave it a 3.
Yeah, I agree. It's a solid 3. It's just a solid card.
I will third that with a 3. 3 mana, 1/5 body. Yeah, that's good.
All right, next one up, Henchclan Burglar. It's the new Burgle effect where you discover from another class instead of your opponent's class. I gave this a 2 initially. I think I underrated it. I think it's probably a good solid 3. I think when more of these new Burgle style effects come in, I think this will swing out of the meta. But I think right now it's a solid card.
Yeah, I gave it a 3. A 4 mana 4/3 is just really good. And the fact that you get a spell from it just off a battle cry, not a combo. And it's a pirate, so you get pirate synergies with some of the spells that are still in here, like Hook Tusk, and even though it's a battle cry, it's still a good 4/3 body, as well as the 3 mana one that gets you pirates and the weapon from the last set. I forget what that one was called, but yeah, it's it's just a good card. I've really enjoyed it. It's probably one of my favorite cards to play with. I don't say it's the best, but it's one of my favorite to play with.
I also gave this card a 3, just because, as Matt pointed out, it is from another class. I feel like that puts it up and over some of the other options. So I like this card a lot.
All right, last one. Daring Escape. 1 mana, bounce your board into your hand. This would have been great last year with Questro. Right now, I think there's this card is pretty bad.
Yeah, I gave it a 2. I think it has a home in a specific Friends decks that aren't really there yet. Yeah, I think it will have a place, but right now, definitely not.
I also gave this card a 3. I feel like there are options there, especially if you're running, say multiple South Sea deckhands. Just play them, attack, bounce them, play them again. The options for burst is there, so I gave it a 3.
All right, we're gonna do Shaman.
Yeah,
well, my overall rate
Oh,
of Rogue, I think it's solid. I think it's a good 3, maybe even. You know what? I'm gonna say that Rogue is a 4 right now. Rogue is really good, maybe 3.5. They're solid. I'm happy where Rogue's at, and I think there's still innovations we have not found in Rogue that we may be making new Rogue decks 3 months from now.
Yeah, I think Rogue right now is probably it's probably one of the best classes in the game, and I would not be shocked if we see a prep nerf sometime in the next 2 or 3 months.
I agree with everything said. This is the only class I rated half of the cards in the class at a 4. I think this class, Rogue got the best of this set, and it shows.
All right.
All
We're gonna do
right.
Shaman, or are we gonna call it a night?
No, let's go ahead and tackle the Shaman. Zeroshio,
All right.
you want to take this one?
Yeah, we'll start with the legendary Swamp King Hagatha. She's a 7-mana 5/5. Battle Cry, add a 5/5 horror to your hand, teach it 2 Shaman spells. And we've seen this mechanic in play in the reveals. You get some good value on these horrors. Plus, then your Shudderwalk will not only make another horror, it will actually play the battle cries from the horror that you played before, which include those spells. So it's a 4. It's solid. I think it goes in most Shaman decks that aren't synergized around Murlocs.
Yeah, I give this a 3. I think it's pretty solid. I think the effect is actually kind of glacially slow, though. But there is value in that late game with between this and with Shudderwalk, and like we said, and with the token getting a Shudderwalk effect and getting another token off Shudderwalk. It's too good not to run on a value Shaman.
Yeah, I also gave this a 3, just because I feel like it's good. I just feel like late game there may be some other things that you could play that may have more impact at that point in time.
All right, the next one is your next legendary, Scargill. It's a 4-mana 4/4 Murloc. Your Murlocs cost 1 mana. This is a 5. This is one of the best cards in the set. It's sick. It makes Murloc Shaman really overpowering. It's one of the best aggro decks right now after a day, mind you. But it's killer. It's endless value coupled with the other Murlocs.
Yeah, I gave this a 5. It's probably the second best Murloc in that deck. This card is good. Really, really good.
Correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but I believe this is the only card in the set all 3 hosts gave a 5.
It is.
Think so, yeah.
This card is that good.
And I think I've only given 3 5s out.
Yeah,
total.
yeah. So I mean, this card is that good. So if you are playing Shaman, if you are not playing Murlocs, you are shamaning wrong.
Sorry,
Yeah, it's
that was
good.
funny.
We go into the epics. 5-mana 4/4 Muck Morpher. Battle Cry. Transform into a 4/4 copy of a different minion in your deck. This has a lot of potential for some synergies, but I think it's just a good value card, especially if you have, good death rattles or good static effects on minions. I gave it a 3. I think it's just a solid inclusion in most Shaman decks.
I gave this a 2. It's fringe. I think, it's Shadow Essence for Shaman on a minion. I think it's okay. I don't think there's probably some broken stuff you can do with Malagos, and I'm not smart enough to figure it out, but it's there. I think it's a solid. It's a good fringe card.
Yeah, I also gave this a 2. I'm just not sure where this fits or if it fits. So I just don't see it currently being played or how you could get great benefit from this. So I gave it a 2.
All right, next epic is a 2-mana Witch's Brew. It's a spell. Restore 4 health. Repeatable this turn. And yes, repeatable this turn is the same as Echo. They just didn't use the keyword. I think it's a 3. In those Shaman decks that need that healing, this replaces Healing Rain and allows those decks to stay alive.
This card is really solid. I gave it a 2 just because it doesn't have the Echo keyword. Otherwise, it's a 3. Basically, this is like, if you remember Forbidden Healing in Paladin. This is a lot like Forbidden Healing in Paladin, but a heck of a lot more flexible, and it can also go on your minions as well. This card's super solid.
Yeah, I agree. I gave this a 3. I did give it that extra point, regardless of the not having the Echo keyword. This card heals for 20 damage on turn 10, or like you said, it can heal other minions. It's super flexible, and I like it a lot. So I gave it a 3.
Next one we're getting into our rares is a 5-mana spell, Hagatha's Scheme. Deal 1 damage to all minions. Upgrades each turn. I gave this a 2. Truthfully, it's probably a 3, but I just think that the schemes overall aren't great, and compared to, say, Togwaggle's scheme, I think Togwaggle is better than this one by a hair. Now, if you can hold this for a lot of turns, it's really good board clear, but you're also clearing your own board. So I just think for the amount of investment into it, with 5 mana as well as the amount of turns you have to hold it, I just don't think it's great, but it'll fit in specific decks.
Yeah, this card's. I gave it a 3. You're probably right as a 2. It's kind of edge, and the only problem is there's not enough other AOE in Shaman right now that you'd actually consider running. So yeah, I think it just goes in the deck because of that. But I'm not a big fan of this card.
So I think this is the second best scheme in the set, behind Togwaggles. I gave this a 3. I have seen this card played doing 12 to 15 points of damage to the entire board, clearing everything. A lot of the games, there are a couple outside of Murloc, Shaman, a lot of your games are going past turn 10, past turn 15, and this card has the potential to do massive amounts of board clear. So I gave it a 3.
All right, next rare is a minion, Sludge Slurper. It's a 1-mana 2/1 Murloc. Battlecry, add a lackey to your hand, overload 1. I gave this a 3 because I think it's a very solid minion. Now, in practice and seeing it played, it's probably more of a 4. I'm going to stick to my value of 3 because I don't think the decks have the meta's shifted enough for me to make a solid change on that. But a lot of people say the big drawback is the overload. You pay 1 mana for a 2/1, and then you're given a 1 mana minion that in a lot of cases is a mana and a half worth of value, maybe even 2 mana, depending which lackey you get, and you can play it the next turn because you're overloaded. So it gives you something. It's an overload that gives you something to do with on the turn that you're overloaded, and for that, it's just a really good card.
Yeah, I gave it a 4. I think like for the same reasons. I think it's super solid. Plus, with like cards like Lickum, Thunderhead, like even if you're not running a Murloc Shaman, you just want to run this card just to, provide that trigger as well, an extra trigger as well, and provide a minion and a lackey in your hand. I think it's super solid.
Murlocs and Shaman, guys. I gave it a 3. I agree. A 1 mana 2/1 that adds a lackey to your hand is good. I like it.
So the last rare we have is a 2 mana 2/3 Murloc, Underbelly Angler. After you play a Murloc, add a random Murloc to your hand. This is a 4. Coupled with Scargill, it makes it a 5. On its own, it's really good value. With Scargill, it's ridiculous value because you play Scargill, this becomes 1 mana, and then all your other Murlocs, no matter what, have 1 mana. And some of them actually do buffs to your other Murlocs, which even greatly increases that. And then every time you play a Murloc, you could get another Murloc that's going to synergize. So it's just the 1-2 punch between Scargill and Underbelly Angler is probably one of the best 2-card combos that has ever existed in the game of Hearthstone.
Yeah, this card, in my opinion, is the best card in Shaman that they released. This card is Lyra the Sun Shard if she was a fish person. I think this card is absolutely bonkers. And a little bit of story time. In my 9-win arena, I picked 2 of these and a bunch of other Murlocs. Whenever I got 2 of these down, it was just run chain Murlocs, and it just completely outflooded my opponent with just Murlocs, and it at least gave me 3 to 5 wins in that run. It's that good. It's a really good card.
I gave this card a 4. It's the only rare I actively went out and crafted because I did not pull. This card is that good, and get used to seeing it because you're going to be seeing it for the next 2 years.
All right, getting into commons, we have Walking Fountain. It's an 8 mana 4/8 elemental with Lifesteal, Rush, and Wind Fury. I gave it a 3. It's very solid. Seeing it in practice, it's just a big chunk of late game heal and board control that Shaman needs to pull off a combo or get into a Shudderwalk turn. This card enables Shaman, along with the heal spell Witch's Brew that we showed earlier, to get to that late game to enact their plan. And it's just solid. It's a good 3 for me.
Yeah, this card, I gave it 2. I think it's better than that. I think it's probably, you're probably right at a 3. It's super solid. It's antique heal bot that can also remove 2 things. It's a good card.
I gave it a 2, but I also agree it probably should be a 3. Not for the reasons you guys stated. I think it should be a 3 because it is an automatic removal magnet. Every time I have watched this card hit the board, people have thrown resources at it to get it off the board quickly. So
definitely, it's a good card. I hate seeing it against me. The next common is Soul of the Murloc. It's a 2 mana spell. Give your minions Death Rattle, summon a 1/1 Murloc. I gave it a 3 mainly because it says give your minions. It doesn't just buff your Murlocs. And then it adds more Murlocs to your board. It's just something sticky. And in an age where we no longer have Defile as a threat, it's really good.
Yeah, I give this a 3. It's a super solid card in that Murloc deck, and it definitely goes in there. The only, I didn't take any points off, but it should have been called Soul of the Water, just like Soul of the Forest.
I also gave it a 3 for all of the reasons mentioned above. The fact that for 2 mana, it makes your minions resilient. They have to kill them twice. I like it.
You know what's really sad is I just got the Soul of the Forest reference. I didn't even compare Soul of the Forest to Soul of the Merlin. I mean, I knew they were similar in cards, but the names, I didn't even realize. I feel dumb. All right, last card we're going to review this week, and this might be the least, is a 0-mana Shaman spell, Mutate. Transform a friendly minion into a random one that costs 1 more. I think it's trash. It's a 1.
If I could give this card a 0, I would have. There's no reason you actually put this in a 30-card deck. This is bad.
Yes, I completely agree with my co-hosts. I gave this card a 1 as well. There's just nothing to say, nothing good really to say about this card.
The only time this card's going to be good is when you get it off Hagatha and put it on a big minion, and you get like a Leroy Jenkins for lethal. But there's no way you put this in a deck.
Right, I agree. All right, guys. Well, that is going to do it for us this week. We will be back next week to talk about the last 2 classes, Warlock and Warrior, plus the neutral cards, and that will end our Rise of Shadows card review, so make sure you join us for that next week. And then the week after that...
And the week after that, I'm going to steal your thunder, we're going to start playing decks. So if you have any great ideas for decks, please write into us at heropowerpodcast@gmail.com. If you're part of our Patreon Discord, to be part of, go to patreon.com/heropower. If you're part of our Patreon Discord, put in your deck ideas. We're going to start taking those, and starting the week after next, we'll be playing these new decks on the ladder so you guys can see them in action.
Well, you hit 2 out of 3 points. You might as well tell them to subscribe and follow too.
Yeah, definitely. Check us out at Twitter at HeroPower_cast. And definitely check us out on Twitch at twitch.tv/ECMMOgamers and give us a follow over there.
All right. And don't forget to use your hero power.